Childhood ghost stories from our old apartment. Just saw a video on YouTube about ghost stories and it made me remember my own personal experiences as a child. From 5 years old up until 12 seconds old, I used to hear and see spirits. Our old apartment was haunted and all of us siblings were used to it growing up, but only realized it when we moved to a different house and all of the weird noises, voices and odd occurrences stopped. I remember all of us freaking out when I opened up with the conversation. Do you guys remember when doors would shut without anyone doing it, nor any wind inside the house? Do you guys remember the stairs making sounds like someone was going up and down the stairs? That's when we all started sharing our own stories. Then we all realized that I was the one who experienced the most when I started telling them examples after examples. I'll share 3 memories that I still remember vividly. A quick visit when I was 5 or 6. I was seated on our couch getting ready for my regular doctor visits. My mom is a nurse and she takes health and wellness seriously. My mom was facing towards me, putting on my socks, and I was facing the stairs. Our stairs at our old apartment was L-shaped and it cuts off as it goes past the ceiling. It creates a shadow around the area of it cutting off past the ceiling. Sorry if I'm confusing you. It's hard to describe the layout. As my mom was putting on my socks, I remember pointing towards our stairs. I asked her who the old man standing over there is. My mom turned around and looked at the spot I was pointing and she told me that there's no one there. I was confused cause I can see a man standing, looking down at us. His face was bloody with a bloody cloth covering half his face. He had a beard and was staring at us. I remember not being scared but more curious. He didn't look malevolent. I kept pointing and my mom told me to describe what he looked like. After I told her what I was seeing, my mom told me that he reminded her of her uncle who got assassinated while he was gardening at his home. This is a crazy story but for a different topic lol. He was shot in the face and died in the hospital, which was not too long ago, but before I was born. She confirmed this story years later and it still creeps her out whenever we talked about it. I think he was just checking up on us, maybe wanted to say hi. R.I.P. Tito. It needed a rest years later, maybe around 10, I was alone in my room. We had a bunk bed because I shared my room with my older brother. The bunk bed was made of metal and had a mesh design underneath the mattress. My brother's spot was the bottom and whenever he sits on his bed, the metal mesh makes a squeaky sound or rusty sound. He always drops down on his bed and never sits on it slow, giving a quick squeaky sound. Lol, I'd call to exactly describe this sound, so hearing it on a daily basis, I am familiar of that sound. One day, I was just chilling on my desk and my CD player stopped playing after playing the whole album. It was just dead silent. I was sketching something so I wasn't really bothered by the silence. All of a sudden, I heard my brother's bunk bed make the squeaky sound, but it was very very slow, like someone was pushing down or sitting down really slow. I immediately froze and I was trying to process what was happening. I started deducing in my mind. I'm alone, my brother is still in his ROTC, and there's no one else in the room besides me. When I realized that it must be something else, I gathered my nerves, told the ghost that I'm scared of ghosts and I hope he or she it doesn't show themselves. The squeaking stopped and I remember trembling. I decided it was the moment. I bolted out of the room, didn't even bother glancing towards the bed. I was legit scared and was screaming as I sprinted down the stairs. I told my parents that there's a ghost in the room and my parents told me that they don't exist, and that it was just my imagination. Despite telling them every detail of the story, to no avail. They simply reminded me it must have been something natural like wood creaking or the wind or the neighbors. I am 100% sure it was the bed. I know that creaking sound and it was very close, not muffled like it was beyond the walls of our room or from the outside. It was right behind me. It was coming from our bunk bed. Also, How would it make that sound if it's not for someone or something to actually sit or lay on the bed? This memory still gives me the shivers. My last memory of a ghost encounter was the year before we moved. I was 12 at this time and it happened in the middle of the night. It was an uncommon occurrence for me to wake up in the middle of the night. This particular night was the scariest night in my life and I get a weird feeling in my stomach whenever I think about it. It's not really anything big like Hollywood level scary, but the sheer terror that I felt left an imprint in my memory. So, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, for some reason, and I just stared in the ceiling, trying to go back to sleep. I was probably half awake at this point. Then all of a sudden, I felt like there's someone right beside my bed, like a presence. So I'm on the top bunk of our bunk bed and I just felt someone was standing beside the bed. I remember my heart started beating fast, and I immediately went fully awake and my body just got stiff from this uneasy feeling. Mind you, it wasn't a sleep paralysis episode cause I could move and was actually comfortable when I woke up. So, I decided to gather my strength and look to my right, cause I really wanted to know if there was anyone beside my bed. Out of curiosity, as I looked to my right, I saw 4 figures wearing black, like funeral formal attire looking down on me. They were tall because even though I was on the top bunk, they were looking down. Their faces were blurry but they were anthropomorphic. I could tell that there were 3 males and 1 female. I stared right back at them, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. As it finally clicked in my head that they're spirits, ghosts, I screamed and grabbed a pillow and placed it on top of my head as I pivoted away from them. I was crying and was purely terrified. I started praying and hoping that they won't touch me or come close. I remember repeating the Apostles' Creed, prayer for Saint Michael, Hail Mary, and Glory be. I was raised Catholic. I was chanting these prayers under my breath until I fell asleep. I woke up the next day. It was nice and sunny and they were gone. I'm just having goosebumps as I'm typing this. I have other stories like the ones that my siblings and I experienced around the house and thought were normal, but were actually abnormal. My older brother and sister also have encounters of their own as well. Let me know if you'd like to read those as well. Stay safe and have a good night.